so we're going to take a look at reflection. And we're going to kind of start right here with reflecting across the x-axis. So in the graph below, figure NBVD was reflected over the x-axis here. Using the coordinates, determine the coordinate rule that describes the reflection of the x-axis. So they have given us already the graph of the pre-image and then the graph of the image. Okay, so if n is at the point negative 5, 0, it's actually on the x-axis here that we are reflecting across, so nothing changes. N prime will be at negative 5, 0. Okay, B is at the point 0, negative 2. When we reflect it over the x-axis, it ends up at 0, positive 2. Okay, Z is at the point negative 1, negative 4, so when we reflect it, it goes to negative 1, positive 4. And D is at the point negative 5, negative 4. When we reflect it, it will now be at negative 5 and positive 4. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing that there's a pattern here. The x's all stayed the same, but the y's changed sign and went the opposite. So the rule for reflecting over the x-axis is that xy will go to x and then negative y. So we changed the sign for the y values. So for example here, using the rule from above, determine the coordinates for the figure ABC after it's been reflected over the x-axis. Okay, so if A is at the point 1, 2, then A prime will be at the point 1, negative 2. And if B is at the point 3, negative 4, then B prime will be at the point 3, positive 4. And C is at negative 2, negative 7, so C prime would be at negative 2, positive 7. Okay, we can figure out the rule for reflecting over the y-axis kind of the same way. So in the graph below, figure LEGY was reflected over the y-axis. Okay, using the coordinates, determine the coordinate rule that describes the reflection over the y-axis. So this time we're reflecting over the y. Okay, so if L is at the point 4, 3, L prime will be at the point negative 4, 3. E is at the point negative 1, 2, so E prime is at positive 1, 2. G is at 1, negative 3, so G prime is at negative 1, negative 3. And Y is at 5, negative 1, so Y prime would be at negative 5, negative 1. And so this time, the rule, or what's happening here, the pattern that's happening here, is that the x's are changing signs and the y's are staying the same. Okay, so when we reflect over the y-axis, xy goes to negative x, positive y. Okay, so using the rule from above, determine the coordinates for the figure ABC after it's been reflected over the y-axis. So if A starts at 1, 2, then A prime would be at negative 1, 2. B is at 3, negative 4, so B prime would be at negative 3, negative 4. And C is at negative 2, negative 7, so C prime would be at positive 2, negative 7. Okay. All right, so on the next page here, we're looking at graphing a reflection across the line y equals x. Okay, and to graph the line y equals x, okay, we're going to start at the origin, and we're going to go up and over 1. So y equals x ends up being this slanted line here. Okay, so this time the pre-image, okay, U starts at the point 4, 1. U prime is at the point 1, 4. Okay. A is at negative 1, 1. A prime is at 1, negative 1. N is at 1, negative 4. So N prime is at 4, negative 1. I'm sorry. N is at 1, negative 4. So N prime is at negative 4, 1. And I is at 4, negative 4. So I prime is at negative 4, 4. Okay, so the rule this time, if you notice, the x and y's switch places. Okay, so 4, 1 became 1, 4. So to reflect across the line y equals x, we take xy and we go to yx. Okay, so looking at the example here, using the rule from above, we're going to determine the coordinates of the figure after reflecting across the line y equals x. So if A is at the point 1, 2, then A prime would be at the point 2, 1. If B is at 3, negative 4, then B prime would be at negative 4, 3. And if C is at negative 2, negative 7, then C prime would be at negative 7, negative 2. Okay, graphing across the line, or reflecting across the line, y equals negative x. So if y equals x slants this direction, here, then the line y equals negative x will go the opposite direction. So the line we're reflecting across starts at the origin and slants in the negative direction. Alright, so if u starts at negative 1, 3, u prime here is at negative 3, positive 1. Okay, x is at 2, negative 1. So x prime is at 1, negative 2. Okay, E is at the point negative, E is over here. E is at 4, 1. So then E prime is at negative 1, negative 4. And I is at 0, 4. So I prime is at negative 4, 0. Okay, so the pattern that's happening here are that the numbers, the x and the y, are switching places, but they're also switching to the opposite signs. Okay, so the rule for reflecting across the line y equals negative x is that xy will go to negative y, negative x. Okay, so using this rule, let's determine the coordinates for the figure ABC. Right, so if A is at 1, 2, then A prime would be at negative 2, negative 1. And if B is at 3, negative 4, then B prime would be at positive 4, negative 3. And if C is at negative 2, negative 7, C prime would be at positive 7, positive 2. Okay, looking at the last page in the notes here, the graph of the line y equals 1. Okay, y equals 1 is actually going to give us a horizontal line, okay, at the point 0, 1. So the line that I'm going to reflect across, y equals 1, I'm going to go up to 1 on the y-axis, and then I want my line only to go through that y. I don't want it to cross through any of the other y's. So I draw a horizontal line, right? And to reflect across the line, I count the distance for each point to the line that I'm reflecting across, and I go to the other side and count that many spaces across. So for example, F here is 1, 2, 3 spaces away from the line I'm reflecting across. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 spaces on the other side. And that will be F prime. G is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away from the line. So then I'm going to continue 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces across. And E is 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm going to go on the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there is my new shape reflected across the line y equals 1. Similar here, I have that I'm going to graph the line x equals negative 1. Okay, well, if I'm looking at y equals a number, I get a horizontal line. Then x equals a number would give me a vertical line. And I'm going to go to the point negative 1, 0, so negative 1 on the x-axis. And I want a line that only goes through that x. So it's got to be a vertical line so that I'm not crossing through any other x values. Okay, and similar to up here, I'm going to count the distance for each point to my line, and then I'm going to continue on to the other side. And this graph actually needs to be extended. So I'm going to make my graph just a little bit bigger here by adding on some lines. Because I'm going to actually run off of the graph of this one. I'll pause it while I do. Alright, so now that I've gotten my graph extended, I'm going to count the distance for each of these points, and I'm going to reflect it to the other side. So B is 1, 2 spaces away. So I'm going to go 1, 2 spaces on the other side, and that's going to give me my B prime. C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces away, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces on the other side. Same thing with D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is my reflected image. Right, so looking at these graphs, they give us the pre-image and the image, and they want us to state the transformation that occurs here. Okay, so what you're looking at is the middle between the two pictures to figure out what line it is that you're reflecting over. So looking at this first one, I see that in the middle between the two is this line right here. Okay, and that is actually my x-axis. So the rule for this one is that we reflect over the x-axis. Okay, similar, looking at this one here. All right, I look in between the shapes, and the middle line this time is my y-axis. All right, so I'm reflecting over the y-axis this time. Okay, the last two aren't on an axis. So looking at them, we have to count the distance between the points to see what is in the middle. So from J to J prime, I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So halfway between these would be this line right here. Okay, and I can check it. H is 1, 2, 3 spaces away. H prime is also 3 spaces away. So I know that I'm in the middle between my two shapes here. All right, so this line here would be y is equal to negative 1. Because I go to negative 1 on the y, and it's a line that only goes through that y value. Okay, so I'm reflecting over y equals negative 1. Okay, and on the last one here, okay, in between the two shapes is this line here. So this one I'm reflecting across. On the X, I go 1, 2, 3. So it will be X is equal to 3. And that is how you do reflections.